Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. Happy 2022. Looking forward to continue this conversation with you all. I'm so excited to chat with you all today about 5 strategies to jumpstart your dissertation this year. And this is going to be a great conversation. It is timely because I know a lot of you all had the holiday season, happen and pass, and you're still in the same spot you were before the holiday season, and you probably got a lot of questions from friends and family about when are you going to finish your dissertation? When is that document going to get done? When are you finally going to graduate? And I know for a lot of you all, those questions were frustrating, and you vowed for 2022 to be your year that you get the dissertation done. So with that, I want us to talk about 5 strategies that can jumpstart your dissertation this year, and in particular, get this thing done this year. For everybody watching, if you are working on your dissertation right now, if you're at the proposal phase or even if you're past proposal defense, there is no reason why you should not be finishing your dissertation in 2022. There should be no reason whatsoever. Now is the opportunity to really take advantage of the time and really get a jump start to what you have going on. So what you all can do for me as you're watching, I'm going to share this with a couple of folks, but if you all can do the same, share this with 2 or 3 people that you know that can find value from this conversation. And again, we want to talk about the ways that you can jumpstart getting your dissertation done in 2022. And hey, Kim, I see that you're on Instagram. Good to see you. How are you doing? And if you're watching this, let me know where you are, where you're coming from. Just drop a comment so I know who's watching it from where. And again, we're talking about the 5 strategies to jumpstart your dissertation this year. Perfect. I see we got some folks on. Great. If you can continue to share this, it'll be perfect. We get this out to as many people as we can. We got hot hot yoga love. Okay, that's I believe that is Constance. If I remember that username correctly. Good to see you, Kim. Good things. Okay, good. All's well. Watching from Washington D.C. For Kim and for some of us in the DMV, we're just stuck in snow right now, which is crazy. Yesterday was 62 degrees, and then today all of a sudden we got snow. And as I posted, I think it was somewhere, I think it was Instagram, like my back is not prepared for that. That large amount of snow that we had. I'm like a 1 to 3 inch type person for shoveling, but today we got like 5 to 7 inches. It was crazy. So definitely, just glad to be here and glad to not be shoveling anymore right now. So again, I want us to talk about the 5 strategies to jumpstart your dissertation this year. And again, send this out to 1 or 2 people that you can find that can find value from this. And Kim, as you mentioned on Instagram, yes, the storm was indeed bananas. Just popped just out of nowhere, which was crazy. And so with that, I wanted to get started, as I mentioned, because a lot of you all have entered 2022 and vowing that this is your year to finish your dissertation. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, there is no reason why, if you are starting your dissertation, even if you're at the beginning right now, there's no reason why you cannot finish your dissertation in 1 year or less. My clients do it all the time. It takes some definitely dedication, persistence, and some strategy. But I think if you implement that, you definitely can do so. And so, what I want to do is the first strategy that I want to talk about that will help you jumpstart your dissertation is that you have to make the commitment that your dissertation will be done this year. I know you all might be thinking, like, what commitment? Why do I need to make a commitment? Why is that important? But honestly, no strategy that myself, your chair, committee member can give you will work if you're not committed to finishing. And I've seen it too many times where students want to finish, but they're not willing to put the work in. But I think before you even put the work in, it starts with being committed to the cause. And what that means when you're committed, this means having a full understanding of all the sacrifices that you're going to need to make in order to get through this process. Being committed looks like when there's an opportunity to, for that new job position that you know is going to take up more time. While it might bring you more money in your salary, and that is important, you know that you won't have the time that you need to finish your dissertation in the time frame that you're looking to do it in. Being committed looks like having constant communication with everyone around you in order to navigate this process successfully. Being committed looks at not just reading the books, watching YouTube videos about the dissertation. It means actually being committed to doing some work and being forward thinking and building that momentum. And honestly, the more you get committed, the quicker you get committed, the faster that this process will be. And I see that we have Lynn joining on Instagram as well. Hey, Lynn, how you doing? And again, we want to talk about the 5 strategies to jumpstart your dissertation. The first one is that you have to make the commitment to finishing your dissertation in 2022. Again, there is no reason why anyone watching this right now or on the replay that if you are writing your dissertation right now, there should be no reason why you can't finish your entire dissertation by the end of this year. Honestly, even with a poor committee and for those who are holding you up, that you can have a complete draft of the whole dissertation done in 1 year or less. Again, it's all about how much are you willing to work to get it done, and then are you willing to be committed to actually getting help if you don't, are you not able to do it yourself? There's no shame in the game of getting help. You know, our favorite athletes, singers, entertainers, they all have coaches. So why not you as a doctoral student invest in yourself and get that support? But it all starts, the first step in this process is to be committed. And so if you are committed and you're watching this, drop a comment. Just let me know that you're committed, because I definitely want people who are committed to getting this done. And I see we have Bamadele from Chicago. Good to see you. He's one of our new folks that are joining the Velocity Group Coaching Program in our January cohort. So it's good to see you, Bamadele. And again, I want folks that are committed. So first, we got to be committed, right? That's our first strategy in order to jumpstart a dissertation. Once you're committed, the next thing I want you to do, this second strategy, is something that right after this live, or even as you're listening to me, you can open up another tab on your computer. I want you to do this immediately. What I want you to do is actually send your chair and a committee and your committee members an update email. And in this update email, I want you to tell them where you are in the process, what you're working on. If you're still working on something, what you're waiting on, if you may be waiting for feedback. You want to keep them in a loop, and then also give them a little bit about your timeline, so they have an idea of what your thought is about timeline. A lot of times, I think there's a miscommunication between doc students and faculty members because there's not a communication from both ends. So as students, you have the idea that you want something to be done in a particular time frame, but you never communicate that to your chair and to your committee, so that there's this clash. Your committee is thinking, this will be done in 3 months, when you're saying, oh no, my goal is actually to have this back to you in 3 weeks. And I want, possibly a 2 to 3 week turnaround time so we can get through this process quicker. But this all starts from setting expectations. And in order to do that, what I want you to do tonight is send an email to your committee chair and committee members. And if you don't have a good relationship with your committee members yet, send it to your chair, because your chair is going to be the main one ushering you through this process. So you want to make sure that you get on their radar immediately. And what this will do, right? Not only will you want to send them an email about your updates, but with your chair in particular, your call to action at the end of your email, your call to action is to get a meeting with them scheduled for whenever they're back from the semester break. Because this is the time that you want to take advantage of before the semester gets started. Courses get moving. Faculty have to grade a lot of assignments. You want to get in right now and then get your times established with them consistently, because the more consistent you are in this process, the faster it will become. So the second strategy to jumpstart your dissertation is to send your chair and or committee members an email and give them an update about where you are, what your timeline is, and then the call to action is to set up a meeting with your chair in order to go over everything. Again, you want to start having this constant communication, because the faster you do it, the faster you'll be done. And I see we have Roro Midley on Instagram. Good to see you. Let us know where you're coming from too. If you're a doc student, where you are, love to hear more about that. And so that was our second strategy to jumpstart your dissertation this year, is what send your chair and committee members that update email ASAP. The third strategy that I want you to all to consider and start doing now, this is something that you can implement immediately that will help jumpstart your dissertation this year, is that you want to have a conversation with your family and close friends and whoever is really in your circle. I want you to have a conversation with them about the sacrifices that you're going to need to make this year to finish your dissertation. There is no doubt in my mind, you cannot finish this dissertation in record time without making some sacrifice. And what I want you to do is start having a conversation with your circle, your inner circle, because those are the people who are going to be impacted the most by the sacrifices that you may make. And what this conversation might look like is you might need to talk about sacrifices of your time, whether that's if you have maybe children, you're trying to balance all of these things, is that you might want to start thinking about, hey, I need you to take the kids for this period of time while I work on my proposal or while I work on my final defense. Or you might say, hey, I need these times every day to be my structured writing time in order to navigate the process and get out successfully. Again, it doesn't take a long time to finish the dissertation, but it will take a conversation to happen with your friends and family. Because what I find is that a lot of times folks get caught up in the dissertation process, not because of the ability to write, because you all are strong writers and strong thinkers, but sometimes it's about, working with the people around you. And I think you forgetting about that you have family members and folks who are sacrificing a lot to get you to where you need to go. I think this is really important. It's something that you really got to start thinking about right now. And so again, with this strategy, I want you to start having a conversation with your close friends and family, that inner circle, to talk about all the sacrifices. And some of the sacrifices that I see some of my clients make, and some of even my doc students at my own university making, is around time for other things. A lot of sacrifices I see of people around new jobs. I got this advice from Dr. Warren Heyman. He was my advisor at Morgan State when I was a doc student. And he said, you know what, Ramon? Now's not the time to take that new position. Because I was at the time looking to transition from being a K through 12 teacher to going into K through 12 administration. And he said, you know, Ramon, don't take that new job right now. You need to sacrifice this time right now. Because he said, I promise you, if you get into that principalship, you won't finish in the time that you need to do it in. And he was absolutely right. I saw a lot of my colleagues who ended up taking those positions, taking those, of course, it was definitely a substantial income jump, right? And that was something I had to weigh. But literally, because I made that sacrifice and not gone into that new position, I wrote my dissertation in 7 months and finished the entire process in 1 year. And so again, I know this whole thing can be done because I've done it, and I know those sacrifices you have to make. Dr. Bianco is on Instagram. She says, I wish I had those suggestions when I was writing my dissertation. Yeah, that saved me a lot of time, a lot of headache. And I still see some of my colleagues who made that transition to senior leadership in a school district or even higher ed. And then I found that they're still writing their dissertation, maybe I'm now 6 years removed. And when I graduated in 2015, some of those folks that started when I did are still writing, still trying to finish. And when you take on those new positions, it's just tough. And I'm glad I took that advice, because now I've substantially bounced back income-wise and recouped all the money that I would have missed out on for that really 1 year that I sacrificed to finish the dissertation. But again, this is a conversation you have to have with friends and family, and particularly folks that that you live with, because there's some sacrifice that has to be happening with your time, with your money, and then with a number of other things as well. And so I'm going to stop right there with number 3. But if you have any questions or comments, drop me a comment, because at the end of this, I will answer all the questions that you all might have, and I'll be glad to take them on. And I just saw on LinkedIn, we have Jasmine Jones tuning in, and she says, so good. I defended my proposal at the end of January, so this is very helpful. Oh yeah, Jasmine, this is great. This is a great time, and defending the proposal is great. And that's something we love to work with our clients on, to really get them through the process. Thank you for joining and tuning in. And so again, you can drop a question on Instagram in the question box, as well as on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're seeing this. You could drop a comment, and I should be able to see it, and I definitely can engage with you in that way. And so again, just to recap, the first strategy that we had to jumpstart your dissertation was to make the commitment that you will finish your dissertation in 2022. The second strategy is that you're going to send your chair and committee members an update email immediately to tell them where you are in the process, what your timeline is, and then your call to action is to get a meeting scheduled with your chair to go over things. And then the third strategy that I talked about is that you need to have an honest conversation with your friends and family that are in your circle about the dissertation and what you're going to need to sacrifice in order to finish. So those are the first 3 that I went over. The fourth strategy that you need and that you can use to jumpstart your dissertation is that I want you right now to get out your calendar, and I want you to schedule your writing time for the rest of this month. I want you to do that just for this month. You all might be thinking, well, I got a lot more to do than just this month. But I want you all to take the opportunity just to schedule it for this month. Try to be consistent for 1 month. I promise 1 month turns into 2, 2 turns into 3. And for some of you all, if the month is overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to schedule that time? Then start with scheduling the rest of this week or even tomorrow. Like, all you need is 30 to 60 minutes in your schedule. And it doesn't have to be consistent. It helps if it is. But you want to have that 30 to 60 minutes that you can dedicate to writing. And I say this because we schedule everything else in life. We schedule when we go to sleep. We schedule when we wake up. We have an alarm clock for that. We get the kids and folks to school. We do everything we need to do at work. But then when it comes to your dissertation, something that's for you, something that can improve your life circumstance immediately, why not schedule that time in for yourself? And Lynn, you said daily. I'm assuming you're talking about writing, Lynn. And yes, when I refer to setting your schedule, I'm talking about daily. As I talk about my book, 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation, I typically say that writing 5 out of 7 days is a pretty good mark, and it will get you a chapter done in a month. I see a lot of my clients do it who have busy schedules, and they're just very consistent. The goal here is to be consistent. What I don't want to see happen is that you write, let's say today is Monday, you write on Monday, and then the next time you write is not until the following Monday. Next thing you know, you come back the following Monday, you don't remember anything that you wrote. And then because you don't remember what you were writing about, you have to reread your old work. And then you realize that you hate everything that you wrote before. So now you're spending time editing, you're frustrated, you're in your head about what you previously wrote. And now next thing you know, that writing session that following Monday turns into junk because you spent 45 minutes like editing the stuff from last week. What I find is that your writing needs to be in phases. And so when you're scheduling your daily writing, this is to get your thoughts out of your head onto the paper. You will have sessions later on to actually edit. But again, I think it's important that you set up and establish these writing practices now so that it makes the dissertation process so much easier and your writing becomes so much more consistent. It's easier to get back in the groove. You're not figuring out where you left off. It's so many benefits to really writing daily, but you have to have this scheduled out. So now's the time. What I want you to do with this strategy is to actually schedule your writing time for the rest of the month. And Dr. Bianco on Instagram says pre-tenure and tenure faculty need this suggestion too. Yeah, that's a fact about the writing part. I know when I first started my first year as a faculty member, I said my goal was to write one journal article every month. And in order to do that, I used to write an hour to an hour and a half, so 60 to 90 minutes every day. And what would end up happening, I got into such a groove that I was able to not just do one a month, I was able to do 2 and 3 a month. And next thing you know, my first year as faculty, I ended up getting like 21 publications, something crazy like that. But it was all from that consistent habit. I just want folks to really start thinking and putting the habit into place because I think that will really help you save time and save your energy on this dissertation. But again, with that strategy to jumpstart your dissertation, I want you to schedule your time to write for the next month. And I see we have ABD to Doctor on Instagram. I hope all is well. Let us know where you're coming from and who you are and what you do. I'd love to know more about where you are in your process and all the things that you do. And so again, that fourth strategy was around schedule your writing time for the next month. And what I want you to do, if you have scheduled it, once you do the schedule, come back to this wherever you were watching and drop a comment and let me know like you scheduled it. Because I would love to like celebrate you and definitely celebrate that because I think for a lot of folks, they hear this and it sounds good, but then they don't take any action. But if you want to get your dissertation done, you can't only be about talk and listening, but you got to be about putting these strategies into action. And I'm very much pragmatic in my work. So I won't always want something that my folks can implement immediately. So I'm not giving you anything that you couldn't implement right now. And so lastly, the last strategy that I want you to put in place to jumpstart your dissertation is that I want you actually to do this assignment for me. I want you on a sheet of paper, on your phone, wherever it is, I want you to write out all the barriers that you know can get in your way of finishing your dissertation. For some people, that could be managing your time, work-life balance. For others, it can be around, I'm not consistent in my writing as a barrier. For others, it might be, I don't feel the strongest as a writer. For some folks, it might be my dissertation's all over the place, so I don't even know where to start. For some other people, barriers might be, I'm a perfectionist. So rather than submit, I sit my own thoughts, and then that leads to procrastination. So whatever are those barriers that you know are going to get in your way of completing your dissertation, what I want you to do is actually write them down on a piece of paper. And then under each of those barriers, right? Let's say it's perfectionism, procrastination is one of your barriers that you know will get in your way to finishing. What I want you to do right under that is I want you to write a solution or a potential solution to that barrier. Because what I want you to start doing is that as you experience these barriers that are going to happen in this process, right? Life is just going to happen. What I want you to start doing is to know that you already have a solution mapped out that you can implement immediately. And I found from my doc students in my coaching program, as well as my own students that implement this strategy, it becomes so much easier to get through the dissertation process because you're not as, you don't feel as anxious when you get that feedback or when you get that barrier that's going to hinder you. I know for a lot of students, the barrier is I'm scared to submit and I'm scared of feedback, and feedback becomes a barrier. And so now is the time you got to think through what's the solution when you get the feedback and how you're going to address it. These are all the things that you really need to put in place because it will really help you get through the dissertation process so much faster. And with that, To recap the 5 strategies that will help you jumpstart your dissertation this year, first is that you first have to be committed to finish that 2022 is the year that you will finish your dissertation. Strategy number 2 is that you have to send your chair and committee member an email immediately in order to, one, tell them where you are, what you're doing, give them a timeline as to where you want to go, and then your call to action in that email is to schedule a meeting with your chair to review your progress and to review your timeline to make sure that it is realistic. Because again, there's always a clash between committee members and students about expectations. The third strategy that you're going to implement is that you want to have an honest conversation with those that are in your inner circle, whether it be friends, family, whoever it is. You want to have an honest conversation with them about the sacrifices that you're going to need to make in 2022 in order to finish your dissertation. And then lastly, what I want you to do, or the fourth strategy, excuse me, is that I want you to schedule your writing time for the next month. And what this looks like is you need to block off 30 to 60 minutes. They don't have to be consecutive. So if you have, if you have 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, that gets you 60 minutes. If you have 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night, that gets you your 30 minutes. You need 30 to 60 minutes of writing consistently. If you put that schedule and you implement it and you put the action in for January, I promise you the rest of the year will be so much easier. You'll be in a groove and you'll just continue to work in that way. And then the fifth strategy to jumpstart your dissertation is that you need to write out every barrier that's going to get in your way, and then create a solution and write a solution for that barrier. When you put all these things into play with each other, there is no reason why you can't finish your dissertation this year. This process doesn't take long. It doesn't have to take long. You have a lot of control when you don't maybe feel like you don't because your committee members and everyone else is involved. But you can control how fast you work and how consistent you work. No one else can do that work for you. So if you implement these strategies that I talk about today, I promise you that this year will be your year to finish your dissertation. And what I want to do, since you all have been tuning in and listening, I just want to show my appreciation, is that what I want to do is give you a free guide that I often see. I created this guide because there are 10 dissertation strategies and 10 dissertation mistakes that doc students make that often keep them from finishing their dissertation. And what I want to do is give you access to that guide because I definitely don't want you to make these dissertation mistakes that I see doc students make that just keep them from finishing the process. And so if you want access to this guide, all you have to do is visit www.dissertationmistake.com. And again, that's www.dissertationmistake.com. And you can get access to that. If you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter or YouTube, you'll see it on your screen. And for Instagram, I'm going to go ahead and type it in for you all so you have access to it. But again, it's www.dissertationmistake.com. And with that, I'll take any questions that folks might have as I'm typing this in. I would love to hear any questions that folks might have. I'm just going through the comments. Thank you to, we have Morris Pearson. He said, this is helpful. I'm ABD at the final chapter, says summary with the goal to complete by May 2022. Hey, Morris, like now's the time. If you're at the final chapter and summary, like you're at the light is shining bright at the end of that tunnel. So go ahead, be consistent. You honestly probably can knock that out between January and maybe mid-February, depending on how long that chapter has to be. There's no reason why you can't finish that immediately. And please post in the chat. Yeah, I will post this in the chat as well. And I'll put up on the screen and I will post it in the chat for those who are joining via LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. And Morris, it won't let me for right now post to LinkedIn, but what I will do is I'll shoot you a DM and I will send you the link so you have access to it as well. And Kim on Instagram says, thank you for the link. No problem. My pleasure. Any questions or comments about where you are in your process? Any of these strategies that you find difficult to implement, or what are your thoughts? Because I would love to hear what you all are thinking, how you all want to go about getting a jumpstart on your dissertation this year. There's no need to wait And Kim, if you decide to work with us, you have the opportunity definitely to get the support that you need working in our Dissertation Velocity Group Coaching Program. For those of you all who missed out, we had stopped enrollment on the 31st. We definitely were telling you all to jump on now, because once it closes, it closes. And so, some of you all missed out on that. But definitely we will be looping back around for our next cohort, which will be sometime in May 2022. Yeah, Kim, definitely these strategies definitely get you going, particularly around getting your committee on board, getting your chair on board. I think this is really a great place to start from. And on Instagram, Lynn says, how much time do you estimate the IRB taking along with data collection? I'm afraid that will take months from others' experiences. There's a couple of situations or things that might get in the way when you talk about IRB. So I'm going to take this because there's two parts to this with your question, right? First is IRB and its process, then is data collection in that process. Those are two different things that have two different timelines. So let's first look at IRB. So IRB, or Institutional Review Board, is the process that, as a researcher collecting any data from like human subject data, that you have to go through this process to make sure that your research is ethical, right? And so typically the timeline about how long it takes to get through IRB really is depending on your university, right? On the low end, I've seen some universities, when I've done this with my students, I just had a student, we did hers for a study she was doing back in, last semester. And I think it took us about 2.5 weeks to finish. And this was for a research project where we collected data, but not her dissertation. And it was about 2.5 weeks. So my university is pretty much about 2.5 weeks. If there's any comments, you have to sometimes go back and edit, and then you send it back to them, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks at the max. Some universities, I know when I was a doc student, my university took they only met once per month for the IRB. So I had to make sure, I think if I wanted in to get reviewed in September, I had to submit by like mid-August, end of August to catch that September meeting. So, it depends on how university works. And so my doctoral university, it took about 2 months to get through IRB. This is something that you really got to start thinking through. And what I would do now, because you're not at that point quite yet, what I would do is a couple of things. First is that I would reach out to IRB. I would reach out to my chair. Hopefully your chair has done research through the institution, so they have some idea about how IRB works, or getting their own doc students through. But also for you, reaching out to IRB will help you get familiar with the people, because again, it's a people process. So you want to know who the people are in the office. IRB, a lot of times the administrative assistant, whoever's working, the kind of frontline defense person in the IRB office is extremely helpful and knows where everything is, knows how to get you through the entire process. So you want to make friends with them immediately, because it will help save you so much time. I promise you, I've seen it happen with so many people. And so with that, you want to talk to those people to kind of get a gist of the timeline. That will help you kind of strategize. And then the second part of your question is about data collection. The length of data collection really varies, right? It can vary by the type of data you're collecting, whether it's quantitative or qualitative. It can vary by how you're collecting or where you're collecting your data. So for instance, if you want to collect even quant or qual, if you want to go into, let's say, a school district and collect data, not only do you have to go through your university IRB, but you have to go through the school district IRB. Those are two different processes that have two different timelines that can be very much long to get out of this process. And the reason why I did a dissertation that focused on college students and not K through 12, even though my program was focused in urban educational leadership, is because I found out that a lot of people, when they went through the school district where I went to, where my university was located, it would take people a year to get through the school district IRB. And I said, no way am I going to sit around for a year waiting for school district approval. So that's why I said I'm going to do it at the college level, because it made more sense. Now, if you're collecting data outside of institutions and you're just trying to find people, it could go fairly quickly, because now with the internet, you can go ahead and make a flyer and post it on your Instagram, your Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever your ideal participant resides online, maybe a Facebook group, wherever that is, you can target them there. And so you might be able to collect your data fairly quickly if those participants want to be in your study. I know for me, my data collection took about 3.5, 4 weeks from beginning to end. But I was doing a number of interviews with people, and this was back when things were in person. So not only did I have to make sure I could get them to do the interview, but then I had to meet with them in person. So we had to coordinate that. And so that took me a long time to do with some participants who live far from me. But that's something now, because of COVID, you might not even have to consider. You could do all your interviews via Zoom. It's a matter of getting people to know about your study, and then get them a link and then jumping on with them. So you might be able to collect data depending on how fast you want to move in, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And so, Lane, I hope that answers your question in greater detail. Let me see what else. I'm going to handle the Instagram questions, and I'm going to jump over to Facebook because there's some questions there as well. I have Roro Millie says, I'm hoping to receive approval from the IRB semester to proceed with collecting data. Well, congratulations. I'm hoping that you get that information soon so that you can proceed, because there's nothing like collecting data. It really makes the process surreal. And then what you find going into a dissertation is usually something completely different than what you thought going into it. So I'm happy to hear about that. And Roro Millie kind of talks about what I was saying and say, that's why I have to do for my study. I work for the school district, so I understand their process, just waiting on my university at this point. Yeah, the whole school district thing can be just a challenge. I know for some districts altogether, they just stop outside people. If you don't work for the district, they stop you altogether from collecting data inside the school district, that you got to plug in somebody who is really for your study or really is looking to support you. And so on Facebook, I have Terry Clark says, I just finished my complete dissertation. First, Terry, congratulations on that. That is the best part to being done. Just waiting for committee feedback, then defense. I followed these guidelines with a very specific schedule with set deadlines for myself, shared plan with my committee for accountability. I'm graduating, I'm assuming it might say in maybe 3 months. It got cut off for me on the comment. I'm sorry. It says I'm graduating 3 months early. Perfect. Terry, congratulations. And if you need support and you want to do a dissertation defense session with us, we do provide that for clients. If you're interested in doing that and you want to get a run through of your defense, just shoot me a message and we can definitely talk about that further so that you're prepared for that dissertation defense. But I'm excited to hear that. And then also on LinkedIn, we have Morris that says, that's challenging. My university I work at put me through that process. Yeah, the IRB, can be tough. And even if you're a doc student at one university and you're collecting data at another, you got to go through both IRB processes. That's something that we teach our clients in the Velocity Group coaching program, how to make sure your documents are tight, so that at least if it's going to take a while, that you're only going to go through this one time and not have a whole bunch of back and forth with the IRB committee. And again, if you want access to a free guide, go ahead and grab the free guide at www.dissertationmistake.com to get your free guide. Any other questions and comments? This is really good conversation. Eastside House of God, pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. I love to hear from others about anything questions that you have, thoughts as you're navigating the process. And for those of you who have applied, we do have 3 slots left to work with us. So if you're on the fence trying to make a decision, now's a good time, because before you know it, we're going to wrap up enrollment, and then things are going to be over, and you'll have to wait until May. So I definitely, if you're thinking about working with us and you've already applied and you're just on the fence, now is the time to join, because again, I want to make sure that our program is very intimate when we work with folks in a done dissertation velocity coaching program. So if you need that support to get through, make sure that you join us now, because before you know it, the doors for the velocity program will be closed and enrollment will officially end. And so with that, I don't see any other questions. We're going to do one more check. But again, what I want you all to do is to definitely grab your guide at www.dissertationmistake.com. And we provide some strategy for you on the mistakes that we often see folks make, and then also how you navigate the dissertation process and trying to apply for faculty positions. Because a lot of folks that work with us, our specialty is helping doc students transition from student to faculty, whether that's an adjunct role, tenure track role, lecturer role. And there's a lot of mistakes because you're in a doc program and they don't teach you that part about how to apply for positions. There are a lot of mistakes that you make now that will impact you moving forward. So definitely grab your guide to learn the mistakes. I promise you, if you implement the strategies to kind of share in that guide, you will be off to the races about getting not only your dissertation done, but also landing the faculty position of your dreams. And then, I'm just excited to hear more about what you all end up doing with your dissertations, because there's so many opportunities for you all to do with it. And I hate for you to be sitting because you were scared to get help or you were scared to implement strategies. Again, the only way you finish the dissertation is through action. I promise you, if you make the commitment and you get to action, you will finish this dissertation in no time. And I not only say because I've done it, but my clients do it all the time. Just go to our website, go to our Instagram, wherever you want to see us, and look at the client testimonials about folks who have just come through and finish. And then shout out to Dr. Colquitt, one of our recent graduates who wrote chapters 4 and 5 of his dissertation in 2 months. Like, that's the type of stuff that you can do very easily by implementing the 5 strategies that I talk about today. And again, just to recap before we end for today's session, is that the first strategy that you need to implement is that you want to be committed. First, you need to make the commitment that 2022 is the year that you're going to finish your dissertation. The second strategy that you're going to implement is that you're going to send an email to your dissertation chair and committee members and talk to them about where you're on the process, what your plan and timeline is, and then your call to action is for you to schedule a meeting with your chair to go over your timeline. Third is that you're going to have a conversation with your family and close friends, so your inner circle, about the sacrifices that you're going to make to get through the dissertation process. The fourth strategy to jumpstart your dissertation this year is that you're going to schedule writing time for the next month. So for the month of January, you're going to schedule out your writing time. What you're looking for is 30 to 60 minutes. It does not have to be consecutive, but 30 to 60 minutes, at least 5 days per week. I don't care which 5, but you need at least 5 days per week. You need to be there consistently doing that writing. And then lastly, the fifth strategy is I want you to write out every barrier that you know is going to get in your way of finishing your dissertation. And then from there, what I want you to do is under that is create a solution for each of those barriers. I promise you, if you put all of these strategies that I shared today into action, you will be one step closer to finishing your dissertation. And if you notice, none of these have to do with necessarily your writing, because a dissertation is about writing, but I think folks heavily focus on the writing aspect that you forget that there's a process and there's a strategy to this. And if you don't have a strategy, you're not going to finish in the time frame that you want to finish. And that's what we do at the Done Dissertation. We help people and give people the strategy. And if they implement, they will speed through the dissertation process. And so with that, people, I don't see any more questions on Instagram, unless if you have one. I see International Morality joined and Miss AIC54 joined. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Let us know where you're coming from, and I'd be glad to hear more about what you're doing. I do have one comment on Facebook, and I have Bamadele who says, if I work on my dissertation for 34 hours weekly, can I get my proposal approved in 5 to 6 months from now? Oh, for sure. If the work is right, and you're lucky because you're a client of ours, so you'll get feedback from our coaches to really help you get through this process. But without a doubt, folks typically with a proposal can finish in 3 months to have it all done. And I would just say that's starting with nothing written, right? 3 months to completion. But what I find that holds people up is not always about your work. It's about how fast your committee works. And so that's the only variable in this process that you, I, or no one else has control over. And so that's just something that as it comes up, you just have to deal with it. But because you're applying and looking for faculty positions, there's always work that can be done around writing for publication and really taking advantage of the time. Because if you all know my story, I wrote my dissertation in 7 months. I wrote it from August of 2014 through, and I was done in March 2015. And because of the administrative process at my university, I had to wait until the fall of 2015 in order to defend my dissertation. I had a 6-month time frame where I was sitting around waiting. But what I didn't do, I didn't sulk about it. What I did is I actually just wrote journal articles from my dissertation because it was done. And so by the time I got to my dissertation, I was citing myself. I had 3 articles published and 7 under review. I ended up transitioning to a tenure track faculty position. And in my first year, I had 21 published articles. So it's like that whole process happened because I took advantage of the time frame. So again, when those things happen, this is what we help you think through with the Done Dissertation. And Bamadele, you have the advantage because you're working with us and we can help you do that. And again, make sure you grab your dissertation mistake guide. I definitely want to make sure that you all are not making these simple mistakes that hold doc students from finishing, because it's no need. And there's a way to do this where you can finish your dissertation and get that faculty job. So I think both can be done. I've done it. My clients do it. And we definitely can get you to the finish line. And shout out to Chris Marie C36 on Instagram for tuning in. And if you all have tuned in, definitely shoot me a message so I know who you are, so I know we can stay connected. We'll be doing these usually, most likely every week. The next one will be next Tuesday for next couple of Tuesdays, and we'll be back to Mondays. So you'll definitely get a text. And if you're not part of our text community, there's another way to stay connected with us so you know when I go live. What I want you to do is text 301-701-2466. If you text this number, you can be part of our text message community. And that way you'll know when we go live. And so you have access to also getting inside scoop on when we have certain offers that we exclusively send to our text message community. And also, if you want to, you could text, and you'll text the hashtag free to 301-701-2466 if you want to become part of our text message community. And again, that's hashtag free, FREE, to 301-701-2466. And with that, I don't see any questions or comments. So I want to say thank you all for tuning in this evening. If you all can, when this post goes live, make sure you send it to 3 or 4 friends who are also working on their dissertation. Don't be selfish with this information, right? You definitely want to be able to support everybody. So make sure that you send it to 3 or 4 people that can find value from this, that want to get their dissertation done in 2022. And with that, good people, I hope you all have a great evening. Happy New Year to you. And I look forward to seeing you next week. We talk about more strategies about getting your dissertation done. Take care.